Hi all, so you join me back at the unit for another video. Just going to do a few more bits on the Skyline tonight, so I thought I'd film it and show you what I'm doing. So, one issue I've been having with the Skyline since building it back up, it all seems to be running fine, but I'm being plagued by an oil issue. So currently I've got this, I've got an oil filter relocation kit with a cooler. So the cooler sits down there, and the oil filter sits here. Now it's currently disconnected. What the problem I've been having is I'm getting oil seeping out the bottom. Now previously it's a cheap oil filter fitting, I'm going to be honest. It's an eBay special. And it used to have a screw-in AN fitting into the bottom of it, and so it's always leaked and I've always had issues with it. So I decided I got my friend Dan to chop them off and actually weld the AN fittings to this, thinking that may, it's one less join, and then it's just the fittings that'll go, the fittings will just screw up straight to this. It turns out that was still leaking, annoyingly, only a little bit, but you don't want oil leaking all down the side of your car and obviously on track and whatnot. So the next port of call was to change the AN fittings. I bought some new AN10 fittings for down here on the engine side of things, and then obviously on the actual filter housing. Took it for a run the other day, and as you can see, this is all wet, so it's still leaking, which is really naff. It's mainly leaking at the top, not at the bottom. So as I said, it is, as I mentioned before, it's not leaking sort of down here, just at the top. So what I've done is, next stage in this whole problem solving equation is to buy a new filter relocation bit. So because the cooler's good and the cooler's not leaking and the bit on the block isn't leaking, I've just replaced the bit which the filter screws onto. So this is quite a nice unit. This is a Motul sort of billet jobby, very well made, and with some Torx fittings. So I've got some Torx screw-in AN10 fittings for either side of it. You can choose which side you want the in and the out to be. So I'm going to have that sat like that with two 90s. It'll go in from the right hand side and then out through the left and down, so that's spot on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew this, remove it all, fit these 90-degree fittings onto the two hoses that are there, mount this on, and hopefully we're not going to get any more leaks. Another main thing as well, I thought it was a good idea to mount the filter this way around to make it easier putting on and off. It's a pain in the arse. You can't fill the filter up properly full of oil so that when you're changing and refilling. So I am going to mount it the correct way around this time with the filter facing down. That way I can fill the filter up full of oil and screw it up without losing that, and that'll help with any potential low oil pressure issues on startup. Splendid. I'll get this off and I'll show you how we get on. Right, so I'm all finished. That was one of those jobs I'm sure you can all relate to, that you think will be a half an hour job and you're there 2 hours later. What a pain in the arse. I'll show you what I've been doing. So let's change the two fittings to 90s. So to do that, I had to take both fittings off, the one that goes to the cooler and the one that goes down to the block. Take it over there, put it in the vise, and change the ends. One of them was stuck on there. I've had to cut it off and put a new end on it, obviously while traipsing oil all over the bloody place. Then I had to find a place for this new filter housing to be mounted. It's not optimal, I'm going to be honest. It's only a one bracket, but it is pretty sturdy. It's a nice billet product actually. I quite like that. It's a good product, quite expensive, but it is good. So I've got that mounted down, I've got the fittings in, I've managed to fill the oil filter up, and that is now in situ, a little Bosch filter sitting down there, and the lines are run semi-neatly as well. So it does sit quite low. It would have been nice to be able to see the product that costs 100 quid or whatever it is, but it's sat down there quite neat. I did have a couple of sensors in the old one. That's the old oil pressure sensor for the dash, and I had a Defi gauge one which I've put down there as well. I've managed to break the Defi gauge previously, so I'm going to, sorry, the sensor for the gauge. I'm going to buy a new sensor for that, and I don't actually need the old dash oil pressure sensor because I don't actually have a dash. So I've just got my little Linky boy here. That's all that matters really. That's the main one sitting on the top. I've got a room for another port for if I get my Defi one sorted, and I've tried to clean as much oil and shit up from down there the best I can. So what I'll do is I'll leave that for tonight or a couple of days to sort of dry up the best it can, and then when I come back I will start it and see if any of that leaks. Fingers crossed it'll it'll be sorted. The engine's been pretty solid. Hang on, touch wood. The engine's been pretty solid up to now. I've just been plagued with really annoying petty problems like leaks from oil filters and stuff. So hopefully that's all. If that's all sorted, we should be golden for some good track time. If anyone ever tells you to get AN fittings or teases you towards getting AN fittings because it'll be better and easier, punch them in the face. I think is the best advice. They are a pain in the arse. If you don't have to, don't overcomplicate it, because the fittings cost 10 or 15 quid each. Some fittings are better than others, depending on if you're mixing brands between fittings. Sometimes they don't butt up as well as others and they seep. It is just a pain in the arse. If you can put a rubber hose on it and a Jubilee clip, do that. You can just save yourself the money, the effort and the stress. So I'll come back to this in a couple of days and I'll video starting it and see if it leaks or not. Fingers crossed it doesn't. Cheers. So it's running and fingers crossed so far, we're looking all right. These fittings are looking dry, both the top. Got a bit of residue there from before. And then also I put my hand on the lines that go into the block. They're clean, so yeah, fingers crossed that's it. Just trying to get up to temperature now. There, so we've got good oil pressure. Coolant temps at 65, oil temperature's at 90, so yeah, it should be nice and hot. I'll come back to you if it's still dry, fingers crossed. It's looking good, to be honest. Some of these hoses look slightly wet, but I don't know if that's just with it heating up, it's sort of coming out of the where it's all been soaked into the braid previously. I've gone around all the connections and I can't feel anything being like physically sopping wet. And same for down at the bottom as well. So maybe it's done. There's a little bit on that bottom. Might try to give those bottom fittings a little bit of an extra tighten, but it's certainly not coming out at the rate it was before. And the other top fitting as well is feeling pretty dry. Yeah, it's all good. So I'll give those other fittings a tighten and see what we get. So that's me done. I've tightened up those fittings a little bit, and to be fair, it's leaking a lot less than what it was before. I guess the only thing we can do now is obviously see what it's like after a good run out. If it does carry on leaking, then what I'll do is I'll change the engine side of the fittings, the bit that bolts onto the block and goes to the 2 AN lines. Fingers crossed that it doesn't. So the next time that'll be out is T-side, start of May. Fucking unbelievable. Yeah, so the next time that'll be out will be the start of May. I think it's May the 3rd at T-side. All sorted for the car, to be honest. Sort of the oil leak, sort of my blowers that weren't working. Got a couple of exciting things coming. I've got some new semi-slicks. So I bought some Max Sports super soft compound semi-slicks for the fronts. So hopefully that's going to help with some grips as it was sliding all over the place before. It wasn't too bad with the current road tyres I've got, and I've got some Pirelli P0s on the front and they were all right. I'm hoping these semi-slicks will sort of give me that extra bit of grip I need. And I've got some new wheels on the way as well, but I'll discuss that in another video. So cool. Cheers, thanks for watching.